voicemail on the numbers.
Okay. All right.
Unless y'all want to change. I'm assuming this will be the number.
You said you had to check for $1,000, but it's too late now.
Who said that? So, he had no intention of being in this mistake.
No. Randy?
No, the mayor.
So he listened to you.
The other guy, the other city commissioner,
Randy Will.
he said he was in on it. Right. But I said, send a second.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this debate. We appreciate you taking time out from your busy schedules and utilizing this opportunity to meet with the candidates and to hear them. It's a true debate. We lingered a little longer than 6, waiting on Mr. Espinoza to get here. I'm not sure if he's here. Didn't get a response from him regarding the invitation we sent, so he's not here. Mr. McEachern is here, and we will ask him to please take center stage if he would. We did receive a message from Mr. Wells that he could not be here tonight. He has a committee meeting that starts at 6:30, so he was unable to be here because of the committee meeting that he's involved in. But we're delighted to have Mr. McEachern, and I talked to him a little bit as he and I got in here, and one of the questions I asked him as he gets ready to do his intro and talk about himself was, and he has total time. I asked us, don't do that? It's already out there now. I asked him, why are you coming out? Why are you doing it? You were once a mayor, once a city commissioner. And so he's going to elaborate on some things, and please listen to him intently. We're at a time where it's pivotal concerning races, especially local races, because they mean a lot with our livelihood, with our functions as citizens, and with the way things go in the community. It's very, very important for you to listen to the candidates and choose someone that best represents you and your neighbors, not so much your own special interests, but someone that can represent the city of Gainesville and do a good and honest job for you. So I encourage you to listen and make provisions appropriately, and talk to your neighbors and talk to your friends and talk to other people and encourage them to get out to vote. Mr. Gosen is going to talk about some rules. There's only one gentleman up there, so there's very few rules to talk about with him. He's got open floor. Mr. Gosen, and if you would, Mr. Gosen is a member of the caucus, as well as Jennifer Brown and Regina Davis. They're our timekeepers. You're not going to see too much time in this first debate, but Mr. Gosen will say a few things about our rules, if you would.
I'd like to say good evening to everybody, and thanks for coming. I'd like to explain the rules of the Alachua County Democratic Black Caucus debate. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make an introduction to the voters and the audience. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to any questions. If there is a rebuttal from another candidate, you will have 2 minutes to respond to the question, and the person that will be asking the question of the candidate will have 2 minutes to rebut as well. And after that, if there's no resolution, you'll have 1 extra minute in order to rebut each other. So these are the rules. If there's any questions? No questions? Okay, here we go. Well, I'll turn it over to Mr. Owens, and we'll get this party started.
Mr. Wells does have someone here that's going to make a statement on his behalf, and Derek will do that at the end. Mr. McEachern?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about Mr. McEachern. Why is he running?
Well,
What is he going to accomplish?
there's several things that's made me run, but first let me say this. I've been looking forward to this forum. I appreciate the Black Caucus putting this on, and moving always forward. I think I will skip over the empty chair jokes, but they're sure tempting. The District 4 that I'm running in encompasses a large part of the city, but I'm running to represent all of the citizens, which each commissioner is obligated to do, and to serve on the board of directors for GRU. Now, I've been told some people don't quite understand that, but the city commission is the board of directors for the Gainesville Regional Utilities and have the obligation of performing as a board of directors. There's been some disconnect that's alarming to me between citizens and the commission, and I want to address those. RTS has to serve the entire population, but we've got some areas that are well served and we've got some areas that are not so well served, and I think we need to address some of those concerns where the headways don't allow full utilization of that service. I want to protect the neighborhoods. I live in a neighborhood, most of us do, and we don't necessarily want business encroachment into our neighborhoods or to see high density encroachment into our neighborhoods. So there's neighborhood protections, and they deserve the support of government, as well as businesses. Businesses need the support of government too. We need to do the things that they need to have to be able to conduct and make a profit and give us jobs and things to do. Fuel adjustment. Now I think that I hope I have a little more time here to talk about that fuel adjustment. That is money that belongs to you people. It belongs to the ratepayers. GRU is carrying it as a liability, or they call it a temporary liability. Now, I don't know how you put temporary liability on the books. That's a new one on me. That money belongs to you, and I want to see it returned to you, and I want to see the fuel adjustment treated as a fuel adjustment like it should be. There's a problem with respect for our charter. We've had campaign managers hired. That's an issue of I'm sorry about that. I don't know what to do with this thing here. I think it died.
It must be a rebuttal.
Could be. Anyway, this charter situation where we've allowed patriotism to enter into our democratic government in here. This is a Chicago style payoff for somebody. This hiring, if it's going to be done, if we're going to hire people, we need to open it to all of the people. We need to give everybody an opportunity to fill those positions, not just pull schemes to keep to award it to your campaign manager. I would love to have some questions if we can. Apparently, we're not going to get to have a debate. But if the gentleman is going to make a statement for Mr. Wells, I'd be willing to debate anybody on this issues, the issues of this city commission race.
Well, Mr. Owens has some questions, and we will surely allow questions from the audience. We will allow written questions, and in some cases we'll have citizens will have an opportunity to come to the podium.
Mr. McEachern, as a former mayor and a past relationship with the citizens of this community, how would you rate the relationship now of the city commission with the citizens of Gainesville?
Unfortunately, there's been considerable disconnect, mainly by people that want to address the city commission. As I'm searching my memory back, there's never been a problem with that until recently. Whenever people come before the commission and want to tell them something they don't want to hear. This idea of making people come in and sign up before 6 o'clock and jump through all kind of hoops and then gaveling them down. And Joe Beatty just the other day was not allowed to speak because she was late getting in and that sort of thing. I think that I think something needs to be done about that. And I believe most people would like to have, whether they're going to go up there and speak or not, would like to have the privilege to go do that and be heard.
What would you do about the situation?
Oh, okay. The first thing I would try to do as a commissioner is convince my fellow commissioners to make some changes in the way that that's conducted and not allow a mayor to assume all sorts of powers that are not granted to him. Does that answer that question? Because whenever I'm on when I get elected and on the commission, I'm only one, and so I'll have to do some convincing and get support for an issue, and I think that's an issue that I won't have much trouble getting support for.
You talked about RTS and that everyone is not well served. Who's not being served that should be served better by RTS?
Well, from what I understand, that the headways are so far apart and so undependable in certain sections of Gainesville that people can't fully utilize those services to come and go. They can't, if they don't have good headways, they can't depend on it to do things like go shopping, or go to work, and get back. And in the time to do it now, the university out here where we've got all the students paying into it is getting excellent service. My granddaughter rides a bus and leaves her car at home because of the parking at the university. And she's getting well treated on it, but some people are not.
Okay.
And we see roads and streets going unrepaired. We need to fix that, and I think we need to fix that by fixing the sidewalks and bike paths and those streets like 16th Avenue out there that need paving. But I'm not too sure that we need to get into bus rapid transit right now. I know Mr. Coffey is lobbying for it, and he's got Plum Creek with a big, lot of land on the east side of Newman's Lake, and they're coming in and saying it's going to do all kind of wonders and thunders and want us to spend a lot of money on bus rapid transit. Well, maybe Coffey might want us to build a bridge across Newman's Lake to get there, but I don't think we ought to. The citizens are not in a position to make Plum Creek wealthy. They're a wealthy corporation. They can take care of themselves.
Well, Mr. McEachern, let me ask you a question. We have I think a serious problem with candidates who run for city commission as well as county commission. And the serious problem is this. Candidates seem to have humanistic values when they're running. And once they're elected, they either become demagogues, they either become dictators, but they refuse to serve the citizens who voted them into office. So I'd like to know, what is your position to people who have demonstrated very clearly that this is their attitude toward the citizens who they're supposed to be representing?
Well, commissioners are employees of the citizens. And I think my track record, when I served before, can show you that I don't have these tendencies to become so self-important that I can't listen to somebody. I think somebody or another put together a board of some of the old recommendations that I had here several years ago around here for people to look at. And I certainly understand what you're talking about, and I don't approve of it at all. It's like the disconnect that we're having and the people not being treated with respect when they come up to the commission to give them some information. I hope that answers your question, because I certainly don't intend to be. I'm going to have people. This gentleman that's not here, his campaign manager was talking to me, and I said, "Look, whenever I'm elected, I want you to come in and talk to me and tell me what the students' concerns are out there. I want to know about it. They don't vote very heavily, but I still have an obligation to represent them."
Well, you have a city commission that has a history of voting in blocks. And when one votes for a position on something for the citizens, they all seem to either vote 3-2, 4-1, and somebody has to approach that current city commission with a change of attitude. So my question once again is, which is a follow-up, how are you going to be able to change the attitude that seems to be systemic over at the city commission?
I hope that I'll be able to convince some of the other commissioners by showing respect for people, by showing respect for the vote. I certainly am not going to vote just because the mayor wants me to vote a certain way. I'm going to vote what I believe is to the benefit of the people, and I'll vote with whoever is voting likewise. I'm not going to vote in any cabal, and we have had 6-1 votes up there. It's absolutely ridiculous. My opponent, Mr. Wells, has continually supported the mayor in whatever that he proposed to come up with. I want to make every effort to mitigate the fiscal irresponsibility of this 30-year biomass contract. It's the largest and the worst contract that this city's history, and it's been voted for by a block. And they've had more secret meetings or meetings out of the public than they have had in the public, and they resent the public coming up and talking to them and asking for information. That leads me to another thing. We have, the city has developed a policy on freedom of information that's, I believe, is contrary to at least it's contrary to the intent of the Florida's public records law. They have done a lot of things that, and one of those that I would like to discourage, and I'd like to encourage some cooperation from the other commissions, that we develop a policy of sincerely trying to comply with the open records law without trying to inhibit it by placing large fees and charges on it.
Well, we know that certain city commissioners, and not all of them, were approached by representatives from GREC. They met privately to discuss whether they would sit down and negotiate or renegotiate the contract. You know, the Gainesville Sun reported on this. We know that it's fact. What do you feel the consequences should be for those who totally disrespect the Sunshine Law, not only once, not only twice, but as often as they like?
Well, the Sunshine Law itself, the state Sunshine Law, has the penalties in it. If a contract is negotiated and found to be not in compliance with the public records laws, that contract is null and void. And we have more than ample evidence that this contract was not public. All of the pages were, not all of the pages, the contract was so heavily redacted whenever it was made available that nobody could figure out even what we were agreeing to pay for electricity. And so I feel like that we have an issue that it needs to be addressed. And GREC has made other breaches of the contract, or appear to have made breaches of the contract that are challengeable, and I think we ought to challenge it to the benefit of the public ratepayers. Not only does the city have ratepayers, there's people in the county that have ratepayers. And I feel honored to be sitting here in Mr. Charles C. Chestnut's seat. I see his name here.
Well, yeah, we definitely feel real good about Charles Chestnut. And
Well, we all
what I'm
do.
trying to get you to really get to, since you have nobody else to debate, then I guess I'd have to be the proxy. Basically, we have to come up with a commissioner or a set of commissioners that would stand up to those who just refuse to adhere to the needs of the citizens. And that's why I asked earlier, do you have a plan to either deal with these people or to do what you have to do? See, let me give you an example. If I was a city commissioner, okay, and I had to go up against what I see people deal with the city commissioners now. If it took having a press conference every day to let the citizens know what these other commissioners are doing, I would have no problem with it. If it took sitting down with the Gainesville Sun or my publication or anybody else on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis and letting the citizens know what is really happening behind the scenes that some reporter has to find out by accident. So I'm saying, which positions would you take that would, eliminate people having to hide and get away with this stuff, and they're destroying the lives of so many innocent people in Gainesville?
I believe as an individual commissioner that one of the fundamental things that I should do is refuse to have secret meetings, to have information delivered to me about a contract, particularly when we're in litigation, that the public doesn't have access to. And any information that I had, I would try to make it available as much as I could to the public. Now, there again, I don't anticipate being in a majority on a commission. I'm going to be in a minority. I've had to work from a minority position before. It's nothing strange to me. I will hope that over the time that the citizens will make the necessary adjustments to the people that are sitting on it. I have very serious concerns about this business of giving them 4-year terms that they apparently are going to put on the ballot. I don't think that's conducive, particularly at this time whenever we have a cabal on there that's voting in a block.
But why do you think they want to put that on the ballot?
They want to extend their time to 4 years. I think that's the sole purpose of it, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a certain lady commissioner try to come back in here and make a career out of being commissioner.
You want to give us a name?
Yeah, Pecan Hanahan. Anybody can figure that out.
All right. We're going to be honest. Let's put it all on the table.
I'm not scared of her.
Okay. Well, everybody talks about what they're going to do, and I've heard a lot of rhetoric, over the years. But very few people actually who sit on the city commission actually do what they say they're going to do. Now, we talk about jobs. There's a high unemployment rate on the northeast, southeast side of town and other areas. But nobody does anything to reduce the job rate. I've heard you talk about it.
You're absolutely right there. And we've done things like FedEx. We've sent them to Ocala. We had FedEx out here at this airport, and we had induced them into doing some limited package separation out there, but we wouldn't give them a building to work in. They worked outside in the shed in the weather. They had limited parking for the airplanes. They didn't even have a bathroom. The whole time they were here, they used a porta port. Now then, they're gone to Ocala. Now we've got this Ball Corporation that makes lids, and of course there's saying, well, they're moving for some other reasons, but the price of electricity has to had something to do with that because of the high cost of it. Those are the kind of jobs that I want to try to keep in Gainesville or attract into Gainesville, I'm not interested in making some millionaires, billionaires from India, rich. They come in here and promise 400 jobs, and both of the jobs that they've got filled, I think, came from somewhere else. I'm looking to fill some jobs for the people that are citizens here in Gainesville, and when we attract jobs from somewhere else, we bring good citizens into Gainesville that are going to participate with organizations such as you folks that are putting on these political debates and attracting the interest to the citizens.
Well, do you think it was a geographical location that FedEx wanted to put their warehouse in, or do you think it was another reason why people couldn't get behind?
I don't think it's geographical. Let's take FedEx for example. My plan when I was on the airport authority was to try to convince FedEx that they needed to service Ocala out of Gainesville instead of Orlando, and then develop a region here that they could do their sorting in Gainesville out of, and thereby bring the big airplanes in from their central locations, Tennessee I believe it is, in straight into here rather than go to Jacksonville and then into here, and thereby creating some jobs for our local people that sort packages. This is the kind of jobs that a lot of people need. These are the kinds of the jobs that we're short of, that pay good salaries and have good benefits.
Well, good jobs change bad neighborhoods.
And I can't sit right here and tell you everything because I don't know. As the opportunities come, I want to seize on them, and I'll try to do that. And again, I think I've got a track record.
Well, one thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Owens, is that one thing that the Alachua County Democratic Black Caucus stands for is that our concern is for the African American population for the entire county, but we also are for every other citizen in Alachua County. And we are not, an organization that excludes. We always include people. And so from this point on, I guess I need to make this as a rule for the debate, that whenever the city commissioners or the mayors who are running for that position respond to any of our questions, think about it in the scope of serving the entire city of Gainesville.
Absolutely, I think you're right. And we go back to the mayor hiring his campaign manager. That's a job that should have been offered to everybody, and we should have went through the equal opportunity process that the city has that they didn't use. Because I don't know who's out there that could do that job. I'm sure there's a lot of people, and it doesn't make any difference whether they came from East Gainesville, West Gainesville, or what race they are.
I agree. Mr. Owens?
Listen, McEachern, what can we do to attract more jobs here? I know you talked about the electric, and that's certainly a prohibitor, but what else can we do? What can you do as a commissioner, or what can the commission do to attract more jobs to Gainesville?
They can
businesses.
They can install less and more sensible, reasonable regulations. They can limit the taxes that the businesses have to pay, and get out of the way. And I think that'll bring. I think some businesses, when they see that that they got somebody that'll support them here, that you'll see some businesses coming from Ocala. Some of them are closing down there. That people understand that we're making fire trucks down there. They went out of business. Maybe we could have attracted them up here if we offered them some land like we did at the airport and industrial park. We gave all that land away at real rock bottom prices. And there's a lot of things we could do and work with the Chamber of Commerce. I don't usually get much support out of them, but they certainly want working with when it comes to trying to develop something to get jobs. But they're looking for big jobs $200,000 a year. I'm looking for jobs that that people that ride RTS are looking for.
Well, let me ask one follow-up question since we're talking about jobs. The city of Alachua is a living, breathing, tangible model of how to attract businesses that pay a living wage. Why is it so difficult for the commissioners to confer with the city commissioners in Alachua and everybody who's a part of that economic explosion to do it here?
I wish Mr. Wells was here. I'd like to ask him that question too. It's like you touched on a little ways back there, that people get they get elected and they get to thinking they're so important that they can't listen to the average citizen. They can't listen to this advice. They're going to vote just like the mayor wants them to vote, or just like their cabal wants them to vote. I think that we need to work with, definitely need to work with the people in Alachua and the other cities, and Alachua County. Alachua County's got a lot of people here that are paying utility bills and are paying overcharges on fuel adjustment that they're never going to get back. I spoke with this gentleman the other day, and we were talking about the fuel adjustments, and I said, look, you're a student. By the time that you get that back, you're going to be gone. And I'm an old college, and I'm going to be dead. Who's going to get that money? I want it now. I want my money back. And I'm pretty sure you do too.
Yeah, I agree. I would like some of it back.
Well, there's $22 million out there that GRU is carrying on the books as a liability.
But Mac, we know that GRU is not in the business of giving money back. Okay, they just don't do that. The only way you're going to get money back from GRU is that you're going to have to get a lawyer. You're going to have to get Roy Washington or somebody that's going to actually go after him and mean it. I mean, right now we are in a real bad situation. This is like the perfect storm coming our way, with biomass, with all of the other things that are happening, the lack of progress on the east side of Gainesville, all the businesses going to the west side. I mean, there are so many creature comforts on the west side. I think if people on the east side had money, there would be nobody on the east side. They would move to the west side or beyond. So I'm saying, as a commissioner, I think these kind of conditions need to be put up under consideration before you get elected, so that when you are, those people who voted for you can continue to support you.
I hope that when I'm elected, the people that voted for me will continue to support me. Now, we've already dumped some money in lawyering up for this contract, this biomass contract, the largest and the worst contract in the city's history. But before we spend too much money on it, elect me and let me see what I can do up there, because it's just like the other day. After all of these secret meetings, the newspaper comes out with a editorial approving of these secret meetings. It sounded to me like all of these commissioners went back in to have secret meetings with the people from the biomass. Why? Why would they do that? Why not lay this out on the table and let the people see what's going on? Is somebody getting a kickback? That's a question. I'm not accusing anybody.
Okay.
Well, what other reasons could it be, though, Mr. McEachern? You named that one. What other reasons might be out there that that challenge hasn't gone forth regarding the biomass contract? And that's a loaded question. I mean, it's pure.
Well, no, it's not really a loaded question. It's a very legitimate question. We got ourselves into something as a result of secret meetings, something that was where the public was excluded. We got into a contract that the public did not know what was in it, did not understand it, and the public had to go out and hire lawyers and sue to get that contract unredacted. Then it's a terrible situation whenever the citizens have to go sue their government to get some information out of them. When we get into it and we get information out of it, we're going to have a lot more questions that and stuff to talk about. That you, like you mentioned here, what else is there? And I certainly don't regard that as a loaded question. There's a lot of things in there that, but we don't know. We really don't know what they all are now.
Well, one thing that's I'd like for you to respond to before you leave and you run out of time is that a lot of people, especially the young people, they have a problem with political officials who have been elected before in the past. They don't want to get behind what they call recycled politicians. But at the same time, I mean, which is a complete contradiction to reality, all they continue to want to support is recycled politicians. And they usually recycle the wrong ones. So what would you tell the voters of Gainesville, Florida, that will let them know that you have learned something that's tangible and will be productive for them if they re-elect you?
I'd ask them to recycle me. I was back there. I've served as mayor. I've served as commissioners. I served as a commissioner, and that record is there. Some of the recommendations that I got are on a poster board that somebody brought in here today for people to see. And certainly, I think I want, I deserve, and can provide leadership for the commission. I'm not going to tell people how they're supposed to carry on their life. That's individuals. What I want to do is support them in carrying on their life and making a living, raising their families and being happy and loving the city of Gainesville. And I think we all know that there's room for improvements in that aspect. We hear people talking about leaving the city of Gainesville. I'm going to leave. We don't do that. I've been here since 1944, and I love Gainesville. And I am not going to participate in secret meetings, and I'm going to try to abide by the public records law as nearly as I can. And as I said before, I would like to try to convince my commission to do away with this policy that they have of having every person in the city of Gainesville his own records keeper. I want to do away with the policy of taking $200,000 a year managers and putting them on an hourly basis and figuring out how many hours that they had on an issue so as to charge you so much money that the average citizens can't go in and get information and find out what's going on with the government. This business of not being forthright and forward has gone too far.
Okay, well, we appreciate it, Mr. McEachern. Derek is here. He's going to bring a message from Mr. Wells, and we're going to let you react to that and close with your closing statement, okay?
Thank you.
Not nearly that tall. Evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. My name's Derek Helmick. I'm a volunteer with Commissioner Wells' campaign. Actually, this will make my second go-around. He's the one who kind of got me involved in municipal politics 3 years ago when he first ran. Yeah, tonight, unfortunately, Commissioner Wells' first obligation is to his family, his second is to his constituents, and unfortunately tonight happened to conflict with his obligation to constituents. He had a Community Development Committee meeting where this is the committee he's been working to help change the code process and make that more efficient. That happened to occur at the same time, so unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. But I did want to go over just some of the things that Commissioner Wells has been working on. In his first term, Commissioner Wells has been a very big advocate for increasing access and connectivity for bicyclists, pedestrians, and those trying to access transit. He introduced the program to encourage non-smoking in the public parks and children's playgrounds areas in our city. And he's also as I mentioned earlier, he's been the advocate for creating a special magistrate to help as our city comes out of the nationwide recession and we start to have increased property values, to make neighborhoods and communities more green and and make the code enforcement process more efficient. In his second term, his big thing, and a lot of you might have seen this in the paper, he's been trying to coalition build around capturing things like the Army Reserve and the Gainesville Correctional Institute to turn these into incubators, small business platforms, and also job training centers. These are the types of things that he's been working on, the kinds of things that he'd like to work on for a second term. And with your vote, we're looking forward to you on March 19th getting out there and seeing what happens. Thank you so much.
Thank you. When I'm elected, I'm going to make every effort to mitigate the effects of the unnecessary and physically irresponsible 30-year biomass contract, the largest and worst contract in the city's history. Why hasn't Mr. Wells done that already? He sat there quietly and didn't do anything. I'm going to move to refund the money to the rightful owners of the ratepayers. I'm talking about the fuel adjustment. Why hasn't Mr. Wells done that? He hasn't done it. He sat there quietly. I'm going to offer neighborhood protection. Mr. Wells hasn't offered the neighborhood any protection. In fact, he has brought infringement into the neighborhood to his own duck pond neighborhood. He didn't bother to let the neighbors know that they were what the processes were going through, where they were going to rezone properties to put a restaurant with outdoor music and loud amplified music right next door to residential. Mr. Wells could have brought that to the attention of the neighborhood, and they could have probably stopped it. He didn't. He sat there quietly. Improve RTS on the east side. Why hasn't Mr. Wells, the headways are bad over there. He hasn't come up with anything to improve the headways to RTS. He sat there quietly. Fix roads and streets and bike paths and sidewalks. He hasn't done anything about that. Improve citizens' comments. Stand up for mistreated speakers, like Mrs. Joe Beatty the other day. He sat there quietly while these speakers, these citizens were abused. Improve citizens' comment and do away with the mandatory sign-in at 6 o'clock. He hasn't offered to do that. They used to have little cards that you could come fill out and put in there, and he hasn't said a word. He sat there and watched citizen after citizen, including myself, be abused. Well, how do you think I got the name 2 minutes back? Since my opponent hasn't done anything but support the arrogant mayor, and about anything will be something that he hasn't done. Thank you. It's still entertain any more conversation that you'd like to have.
I think you said it all. Thank you very much.
Mr. McEachern, we appreciate you taking time and being here tonight. Again, we didn't get anything from Mr. Espinoza. I think this is his second one so far that I've been to that he hasn't been around. I certainly think that individuals as voting need to take that into account. And I don't mind calling out if you need to be called out. He needs to be called out. He's a young man that's a student evidently. Perhaps he is serious about this. But I certainly have to question it if you can't make a forum or a debate to let the citizens know how you feel. Sorry Mr. Wells couldn't be here. I can't apologize for him. He certainly sent a representative. I told the committee to hold off a little bit and let me get with you. Let me go to this thing so I can talk to these citizens and tell them what I'm going to do. But that's me. I don't speak for Mr. Wells, and I certainly appreciate Derek, you're speaking for him. Thank you, Mr. McEachern.
I think Mr. Espinoza is encumbered a little bit by youth and immaturity, and he's got a wonderful website. If you want to look at it, he's got some of the prettiest girls you ever saw, a whole gang of them around him. If he gets elected, he'll be so busy with them, he can't do it.
Thank you. Let me back to the teacher. Thanks a lot.